I'm currently attending a night course at a local college. It takes me 1 hour to walk back to my apartment, but I don't mind walking alone at night. It gives me time to clear my head after class. I've spent the past few weeks like this, walking down the long road, never having a reason to be on edge. But what happened one evening has caused me to change my route home. It was a weeknight, and I was walking down the usual street that leads to my apartment. The sky was cloudy, and I could hear the sound of thunder in the distance. The street was devoid of traffic, and there was not a single person within sight. I turned a sharp corner at the end of the road. That's when I first heard it. The sound of a ringing phone. At the end of the road, in front of an old-fashioned antique shop, was a vintage, time-worn phone booth. Was this where the ringing was coming from? As I got closer, I realized that the phone inside was ringing. Why would someone be calling this phone at such a late hour? Curious, I stepped inside, closed the door, and picked up the phone. When I raised the phone to my ear, I heard very faint breathing on the other end, then the line abruptly disconnected. I hung up the phone feeling confused and slightly creeped out. I figured someone was playing a prank on me. I gathered my bearings and was prepared to leave. That's when I first saw him. There was a figure in front of the antique shop. His back was to me, and he was crouched down, looking down at the pavement. He was very skinny and long-limbed, and dressed in a worn, moth-eaten beige suit. He wore an oldish, brown top hat over long, slicked back, jet black hair. When I saw him, I was instantly unnerved, and the hairs on my arms stood straight up. Then I did something that I still regret. I opened the door, leaned out, and asked the man if he was all right. He didn't answer back. He remained absolutely still. After what felt like an eternity, he turned around ever so slowly. His face was shrouded in shadow, looking directly at me. Then something dreadful happened that still frightens me even now. He dropped on all fours and crawled toward the phone booth with unnatural speed. I frantically closed the door as he bashed the palms of his skeletal hands against the glass. While I desperately held the door closed, he pressed his face against the glass. His eyes were milky white, staring right at me. His mouth was stretched in a broad, ear-to-ear smile. His teeth were very long. That's to say, if they were teeth, they were more like fangs. His skin was gray, pulled tight against the bones. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. Of course, I didn't have my cell phone. My only option was to use the phone in the booth. It took an unbearable amount of time to dial 911, due to the phone possessing a rotary dial. When I raised the phone to my ear, the other end was silent. There wasn't even a dial tone. I attempted calling several more times to no avail. My heart sank as I hung up the phone. The man's smile grew, stretching across his face. My blood ran cold as he began to laugh. He was mocking me. His laughter was muffled by the sound of thunder overhead. Then it started to rain. I could barely make out the man's silhouette as the street was blanketed in darkness. The occasional flash of lightning would reveal that he was just standing there, glaring at me with swollen, colorless eyes. I waited for what felt like hours. When the storm passed, he wasn't there. It was as if he had never existed in the first place. When I finally gained the courage to run away, I heard a sound that nearly caused me to jump out of my skin. The phone was ringing. My hands were shaking as I hesitantly picked up the phone. When I raised the phone to my ear, I heard laughter on the other end. That same laughter.